You're tired of waiting, aren't you? Tired of hoping things will change while watching them stay exactly the same. Tired of having dreams that feel more like fantasies. Tired of living a life that's smaller than what you know is possible. What if I told you the solution is the exact opposite of what you think it is? You're sitting there right now, perhaps doubting something in your life. Maybe it's a dream you've been carrying. Maybe it's a relationship you want to heal. Maybe it's a version of yourself you've been afraid to become. And somewhere deep inside, a voice whispers, "Show me first, then I'll believe." But what if I told you that this very thought pattern is the prison keeping you trapped? What if the key to everything you want lies in completely reversing this equation? You see, most people live their entire lives backwards. They wait for evidence before they commit to belief. They want guarantees before they take risks. They demand proof before they invest their faith. This is why most people never experience the extraordinary. Let me share something with you that might change everything. The universe doesn't operate on your timeline of proof and evidence. It operates on energy, on vibration, on the frequency of your deepest convictions. When you truly believe something before you see it, you become a magnet for its manifestation. But here's what they don't teach you in school. Here's what your parents couldn't explain because they were never taught it themselves. Belief isn't just a nice feeling or positive thinking. Belief is a creative force. Your beliefs are literally shaping your reality every single moment. Think about this for a second. Every invention that changed the world began in someone's mind as pure belief. The airplane, the internet, the smartphone in your hand. Someone believed in these possibilities before any evidence existed. They saw it first in their consciousness. Then reality caught up. You're doing the same thing right now, but most likely in reverse. You're creating limitations by believing in them first. You're manifesting obstacles by focusing on them consistently. You're attracting exactly what you don't want because that's where your belief energy is flowing. This is the great tragedy of human potential. You have this incredible power to create through belief, but you're using it unconsciously. You're using it against yourself. You're using it to reinforce every story that keeps you small. Let me ask you something. What if you could flip this script starting today? What if instead of saying, "I'll believe it when I see it," you began saying, "I'll see it when I believe it"? This isn't wishful thinking. This isn't fantasy. This is how consciousness works. This is how creation happens. This is how every great achievement in human history came into being. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to believe, but their belief is contaminated by doubt. They affirm what they want, but their energy is focused on what they fear. True belief requires you to become comfortable with the unknown. It requires you to trust before you have reasons to trust. It requires you to act as if your desired reality is already unfolding, even when your current circumstances suggest otherwise. This is terrifying for most people. Your ego mind hates this uncertainty. It wants control. It wants guarantees. It wants to see the entire staircase before taking the first step. But the universe doesn't work this way. Creation happens in the space between what is and what could be, and your belief is the bridge. When you truly believe in something that doesn't yet exist in your physical reality, you're actually connecting with a version of yourself and your life that exists in potential. You're tuning into a frequency where this reality is already complete. And then something magical happens. Your actions begin to align with this belief. Your decisions start reflecting this new reality. Your energy shifts to match this possibility. You stop waiting for permission and start creating opportunities. You stop looking for reasons why it won't work and start finding ways it can work. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if it works beyond my wildest dreams?" But here's the catch, and this is crucial. You cannot fake this belief. You cannot pretend or force it. True belief must be cultivated from within. It starts with a single moment of decision, a moment when you choose to trust something larger than your current circumstances. A moment when you decide that your vision of what's possible is more real than your current limitations. Most people never make this decision. They live their entire lives as victims of their circumstances, waiting for something external to change their internal reality. But you're not most people, are you? You're here right now because something inside you knows there's more. Something inside you is ready to stop waiting and start creating. So let me share with you exactly how to begin How to force yourself to believe before you see. How to become the kind of person who creates their reality through the power of their convictions. First, you must understand that your current beliefs are not facts. They're just thoughts you've been thinking for so long that they feel true. They're patterns of perception that you've inherited from your family, your culture, your past experiences. But patterns can be changed. Beliefs can be updated. Your mental programming can be rewritten. Start by identifying one limiting belief that's been holding you back. Maybe it's I'm not good enough. Maybe it's I don't deserve success. Maybe it's love never lasts. Maybe it's money is the root of all evil. Whatever it is, recognize it as just a story. A story that's been running in the background of your consciousness, creating experiences that match its frequency. Now, what if you could write a new story? What if you could choose a belief that serves your highest vision instead of your deepest fears? This is where the real work begins. This is where you start forcing yourself to believe before you see. You begin by acting as if this new belief is already true. Not because you have evidence, but because you're choosing to create evidence. If you want to believe you're worthy of love, start treating yourself with the love and respect you desire from others. If you want to believe you're capable of success, start making decisions that a successful person would make. If you want to believe abundance is your natural state, start acting from abundance rather than scarcity. This feels uncomfortable at first. Your old programming will resist. Your ego will demand proof. Your fear will whisper all the reasons why this won't work. But here's what you must understand. Comfort is the enemy of growth. If you want to create a reality that's different from your current one, you must be willing to feel uncomfortable while it's developing. You must be willing to believe in possibilities that haven't manifested yet. You must be willing to trust in outcomes you haven't experienced yet. You must be willing to invest your faith in dreams that haven't come true yet. This is the price of transformation. This is the cost of stepping into your power as a conscious creator. But oh, the rewards are beyond anything you can imagine. When you truly commit to believing before seeing, something shifts in the fabric of your reality. Opportunities begin to appear that were always there but invisible to your previous level of consciousness. People show up who can help you in ways you never expected. Resources become available that seemed impossible before. Solutions emerge to problems that appeared insurmountable. This isn't magic, although it feels magical. This is consciousness creating through belief. This is you aligning with the natural laws of manifestation that govern all creation. But here's what you must never forget. The moment you start getting results, your old programming will try to convince you it was just coincidence. It will try to explain away the miracle. It will try to pull you back into the familiar prison of limitation. Don't let it. Keep believing. Keep acting from your vision rather than your circumstances. Keep choosing faith over fear, possibility over probability, love over limitation. Because here's the secret that changes everything. The more you practice believing before seeing, the faster the seeing happens. The more you trust in your ability to create through consciousness, the more powerful your creative abilities become. You begin to realize that you're not at the mercy of external circumstances. You're not a victim of your past. You're not limited by what others think is possible. You are a conscious creator, capable of bringing into reality anything you can hold steadily in belief. But let me warn you about something. As you begin to experience the power of believing before seeing, you'll be tempted to use this power for small things, for superficial desires, for ego gratification. This is a mistake that will limit your growth. True belief, the kind that creates lasting transformation, must be rooted in something larger than personal gain. It must be connected to your deepest purpose. It must serve not just your individual desires, but the highest good of all. When you believe in possibilities that elevate not just yourself, but everyone around you, you tap into a power that's infinitely greater than your personal will. This is when miracles become commonplace. This is when the impossible becomes inevitable. This is when your life becomes a masterpiece of conscious creation. So I ask you now, what would you dare to believe if you knew you couldn't fail? What possibilities would you invest your faith in if you knew the universe was conspiring to help you? What version of yourself would you step into if you trusted completely in your power to create through belief? These aren't hypothetical questions. These are invitations to transformation. These are doorways to a reality where your deepest dreams aren't just possible, they're inevitable. But you must walk through these doorways yourself. You must make the choice to believe before you see. You must commit to trusting in possibilities that haven't manifested yet. And here's what I promise you. The moment you make this commitment, really make it, not just with your words, but with your entire being, everything begins to change. Your energy shifts. Your vibration raises. Your magnetic field transforms. And the universe begins to rearrange itself to match your new level of belief. Opportunities that were hidden become visible. Connections that seemed impossible become natural. Resources that appeared scarce become abundant. Solutions that looked complex become simple. This is the power of believing before seeing. This is the secret that mystics and masters have known for centuries. This is the key that unlocks the door to unlimited possibility. But remember, it's not enough to understand this intellectually. You must live it. You must practice it. You must commit to it even when your circumstances suggest otherwise. Especially when your circumstances suggest otherwise. Because that's when your belief is being tested. That's when you have the opportunity to prove to yourself and the universe that your faith is stronger than your fear. That your vision is more powerful than your current reality. Every time you choose belief over doubt, you're programming your subconscious for success. Every time you act from possibility rather than limitation, you're creating new neural pathways in your brain. Every time you trust in unseen outcomes, you're building your capacity for conscious creation. And gradually, believing before seeing becomes your natural way of being. It becomes as automatic as breathing. It becomes the foundation from which all your thoughts, decisions, and actions flow. This is when you realize that you've always had this power. You've always been able to create through belief. You were just using it unconsciously, creating by default rather than by design. But now you know, now you understand, now you have the tools to force yourself to believe before you see. And when you do this consistently, when you make it your practice and your priority, something extraordinary happens. You stop being a person who hopes for change and become a person who creates change. You stop being someone who wishes for better circumstances and become someone who generates better circumstances. You stop being a victim of your past and become the author of your future. This is your birthright. This is your natural power. This is what you came here to remember and embody. But let me tell you something else that's crucial to understand. The path of believing before seeing isn't just about getting what you want. It's about discovering who you really are beneath all the layers of conditioning and fear. You see, when you force yourself to believe in possibilities that haven't manifested yet, you're actually reconnecting with your authentic self. The self that existed before the world told you what was realistic, the self that knew no limits before you learned about limitations. This is profound. This changes everything about how you approach your life. Most people spend their entire existence trying to fit into boxes that other people created. They adapt their dreams to match their circumstances. They shrink their possibilities to fit their current reality. They become smaller and smaller until they barely recognize themselves. But when you believe before seeing, you're doing the opposite. You're expanding beyond the boxes. You're refusing to let circumstances dictate possibilities. You're saying to the universe, I am larger than my current experience. And here's what happens when you take this stand consistently. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and resources that match this expanded version of yourself, not because you're trying to get something, but because you've become someone who naturally magnetizes these experiences. This is the difference between forcing and allowing, between manipulation and manifestation, between ego-driven desires and soul-aligned creation. When you truly believe before seeing, you're not trying to control outcomes. You're aligning with the creative principle that governs all life. You're participating consciously in the process that's always happening, whether you're aware of it or not. Think about this. Right now, your beliefs are creating your reality. But most of these beliefs are unconscious. They're running in the background like software programs you never chose to install. Maybe you inherited the belief that money is scarce from parents who struggled financially. Maybe you picked up the belief that love is conditional from a relationship that ended badly. Maybe you absorbed the belief that you're not talented enough from a teacher who didn't understand your gifts. These beliefs are operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, creating experiences that confirm their validity. They're like invisible magnets, attracting exactly what they expect to find. But what if you could upgrade this software? What if you could consciously choose the beliefs that guide your creation? This is what it means to force yourself to believe before you see. You're taking conscious control of the creative process that's been running automatically your entire life. And here's something beautiful that happens when you do this. You don't just change your external circumstances, you transform your relationship with yourself. You stop being someone who reacts to life and become someone who consciously creates life. You stop being a victim of your programming and become the programmer of your experience. You stop waiting for permission and start granting yourself authorization. This shift in identity is more valuable than any external achievement. This is the real treasure. This is what transforms not just your circumstances, but your entire experience of being alive. But I want to warn you about something that happens along this journey. As you begin to believe in possibilities that seem impossible to others, you may face resistance from people in your life. They may call you unrealistic. They may say you're setting yourself up for disappointment. They may try to pull you back into the limited thinking that feels safe and familiar to them. This isn't because they don't love you, it's because your expansion threatens their comfort zone. Your willingness to believe in more makes them uncomfortable with believing in less. Don't let their fear contaminate your faith. Don't let their limitations become your ceiling. Don't let their need for proof delay your commitment to possibility. Remember, they can only see through the lens of their own beliefs. If they believe that extraordinary things don't happen to ordinary people, they can't support your extraordinary dreams. If they believe that transformation is impossible, they can't celebrate your commitment to change. This is why your belief must be stronger than their doubt. Your faith must be more powerful than their fear. Your vision must be clearer than their skepticism. And here's what you must understand about this dynamic. When you succeed in creating through belief, when your faith becomes manifested reality, you give others permission to believe too. You show them what's possible when someone refuses to accept limitations as facts. You become living proof that ordinary people can create extraordinary lives through the power of consciousness. You become evidence that dreams aren't just fantasies, they're blueprints for creation. This is one of the greatest gifts you can give to the world. Not just your success, but your demonstration of how success is created through belief. But right now you might be thinking, this sounds wonderful, but how do I actually do it? How do I force myself to believe when everything in my experience suggests otherwise? Here's the practical path. Start with small experiments in belief. Don't try to leap from poverty consciousness to abundance consciousness overnight. Don't try to go from total self-doubt to complete confidence in a single day. Instead, find one area of your life where you can practice believing before seeing. Maybe it's believing you can improve your health. Maybe it's believing you can attract the right romantic partner. Maybe it's believing you can find work that fulfills you. Choose something that feels challenging but not impossible. Something that stretches your current belief system without breaking it. Then, for the next 30 days, act as if this belief is absolutely true. Make decisions from this belief, speak from this belief, think from this belief, feel from this belief. When doubt arises, and it will, don't fight it. Simply redirect your attention back to the belief you're cultivating. Like training a muscle, you're training your capacity to hold faith in the face of uncertainty. And watch what happens. Watch how opportunities begin to appear. Watch how resources become available. Watch how solutions emerge that you couldn't have imagined from your previous level of consciousness. This isn't magic, though it feels magical. This is simply how consciousness works. This is how belief creates reality through the invisible laws that govern all manifestation. As you see results from this practice, your confidence in the process will grow. Your capacity to believe will expand. Your willingness to trust in unseen possibilities will strengthen, and gradually you'll be ready for bigger experiments in belief, bolder leaps of faith, more audacious commitments to possibilities that seem impossible to others. This is how you build your belief muscle. This is how you develop unshakable faith in your creative power. This is how you become someone who naturally expects miracles, because you understand how they're created. But let me share something with you that might surprise you. The biggest obstacle to believing before seeing isn't external circumstances. It isn't other people's opinions. It isn't lack of resources or opportunities. The biggest obstacle is your own need to figure out how. You see, your logical mind wants to understand the mechanism before it commits to the outcome. It wants to see the path before it takes the first step. It wants guarantees before it invests belief. But here's what you must understand. The how is not your job. Your job is the what and the why. Your job is to get crystal clear about what you want to create and why it matters to you. The universe handles the how. This is one of the most liberating realizations you can have. You don't need to know how your dreams will manifest. You don't need to control the process. You don't need to micromanage the universe. You just need to believe with such clarity and conviction that your faith becomes a beacon calling your desired reality into existence. Think about every great achievement in your life. Did you know exactly how it would happen before you committed to it? Did you have a detailed roadmap before you took the first step? Of course not. You probably had a general sense of direction, but the specific path revealed itself as you move forward. Doors opened that you didn't even know existed. People appeared who could help in ways you never imagined. Resources became available that seemed impossible at the beginning. This is how creation works. This is how belief manifests reality. You provide the vision and the faith. The universe provides the method and the means. But you must trust this process completely. You must be willing to act without knowing all the steps. You must be comfortable with uncertainty while maintaining absolute certainty about your ultimate destination. This paradox is at the heart of conscious creation. You must hold both trust and surrender simultaneously. Trust in your power to create through belief and surrender of your need to control how it happens. When you master this balance, something extraordinary occurs. You begin to flow with life instead of fighting against it. You start collaborating with universal forces instead of trying to force outcomes through willpower alone. And here's what makes this even more powerful. When you stop trying to figure out how and start focusing purely on believing, you actually accelerate the manifestation process. You remove the resistance that comes from mental struggle and analysis. Your belief becomes pure, undiluted by doubt or confusion, uncontaminated by the need to understand every detail before proceeding. This pure belief is like a laser beam of creative energy. It cuts through obstacles that seemed insurmountable. It creates pathways where none existed before. It attracts solutions that surpass your wildest imagination. So release the need to know how. Let go of the compulsion to control every variable. Stop demanding that the universe explain itself before you commit your faith. Instead, focus all your energy on believing with absolute conviction. Hold your vision with unwavering clarity. Trust in the creative intelligence that orchestrates all manifestation, and watch how quickly the how reveals itself when you're no longer desperately grasping for it. There's one more thing I need to share with you before we close. Something that will determine whether you actually apply what you've learned today or let it become just another inspiring idea that fades with time. The moment you finish listening to these words, your old programming will fight back. It will whisper all the familiar reasons why this won't work for you. It will remind you of past failures. It will point to current circumstances as evidence that change is impossible. This is the critical moment. This is where most people surrender their power and return to the familiar prison of limitation. But you have a choice. You can listen to that voice, or you can recognize it as the fear-based programming that's been keeping you stuck. You can give in to doubt, or you can use this resistance as fuel for your commitment to transformation. Remember, every person who has ever created something extraordinary faced this same moment of choice. Every inventor, artist, leader, and visionary had to choose belief over evidence, faith over fear, possibility over probability. They weren't special, they weren't chosen, they weren't blessed with some magical power that you don't possess. They simply refused to let their current reality dictate their future possibilities. They forced themselves to believe before they could see. They trusted in their creative power even when everything around them suggested otherwise. You have that same power. You have that same choice. You have that same opportunity to step beyond the boundaries of what seems possible and into the realm of what becomes inevitable through belief. So start today. Start right now. Choose one belief that would transform your life if you held it completely. Choose one possibility that excites and terrifies you in equal measure. Choose one vision of yourself that seems just beyond your current reality. And then force yourself to believe in it. Not because you have evidence, but because you're choosing to create evidence. Not because it seems probable, but because you're making it inevitable. Do this with the same intensity that you would use to save someone's life. Do this with the same commitment that you would give to protecting your children. Do this with the same dedication that you would apply to your most important goal. Because in many ways, this is all of those things. This is you saving your own life from limitation. This is you protecting your dreams from the voice of impossibility. This is you achieving the most important goal of all, the goal of becoming who you truly are. And when you do this, when you really commit to believing before seeing, you'll discover something amazing. The universe has been waiting for your belief. It's been ready to support your dreams. It's been prepared to provide everything you need. It was just waiting for you to believe first. So believe now, trust now, act from possibility now. Force yourself to see through the eyes of faith rather than the lens of limitation, and watch what happens. Watch as your world transforms to match your convictions. Watch as your dreams begin to take shape in reality. Watch as you become living proof that believing before seeing isn't just possible, it's the only way to create a life that matters. Your extraordinary life is waiting. It's been waiting all along. It's time to believe it into existence. Your extraordinary life isn't waiting for tomorrow. It isn't waiting for better circumstances. It isn't waiting for permission. It's waiting for you to believe it exists right now. The question is, will you finally give it that belief today?